Good evening. It is February, or excuse me, what is the date today? Today's January 21st. Welcome to the finance meeting. Can we get a roll call, please?
February 18th.
Great. What did I say?
January 20th.
Oh, I'm all over the place. All right, I'm sorry, February 18th, and I am with it today. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Grumney,
Here, I think.
Mr. Long,
Here.
Mayor St. John,
Here.
Mr. Capel is absent. Mrs. Cooper? Here. Mrs. Crawford? Here. Mr. Ghost is absent. 5 present. We have quorum.
All right, thank you. I think we have meeting minutes from our January 21st meeting. I have a chance to look at that.
I'll make a motion to pass.
All right, got a motion by Ms. Cooper. And I'll go ahead and second that. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Grumney?
Yes.
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
5 yeas, motion approved.
Okay, and it looks like we have a relatively light agenda, I think, but we'll go ahead and kick right off with, I believe, Ms. Steffen then with the quarterly investment review.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Grumney. On page 4 of your packet, we have our quarterly investment review. For those of you who are newer to council, just a brief recap on this. Every quarter, we do an investment review according to our investment policy, where I'll go through what all of our balances are in our cash accounts, what accounts those are, how secure they are, and what our average yield is. So starting on page 4, we have the Q4 of 2025 investment review. And at December 31st, 2025, our total cash and investment balance was right around $22.3 million. Approximately 46% of that balance is in liquid accounts, Star Ohio and First Commonwealth Bank. And the rest of it is sitting in Fifth Third Securities, which is not considered to be completely liquid, but it is manageable to get funds out if we needed to, and not too short of a time, or not too long of a time, I should say. We have the First Commonwealth Bank at $2.9 million, paying 3.13% annual percentage yield. Star Ohio, we have $7.3 million with just under 4% yield. And Fifth Third Securities, we've got $12.1 million with an average current book yield of a little over 4%. We continue to be in an elevated rate environment. However, the Fed has reduced rates 3 times in 2025 at the latter end of 2025. So we are starting to see some of that downshift in the economy. For our Fifth Third Securities, we have a holdings report, and you can see all of our current units. We've got about 12 million in current units in our portfolio there. The weighted average life of those is about 1.849 years, meaning on average, all the investments average about that length of time. Of course, some are longer and some are shorter. And our current book yield is sitting at 4.106. Simple credit rating has us at AA+, which is good. The laddered investments down at the bottom, the pie chart there, it's pretty typical from quarter to quarter. We don't see a lot of change. 14.3% in FDIC insured CDs, and the rest of it is backed by the U.S. Treasury. So you can see all our exposure risks there. And on page 5, I've included a brief economic update. Feel free to read this at your convenience. It's just a little bit interesting, I feel. The latest Bureau of Labor and Statistics report showed a sharp slowdown in job creation. So something to keep in mind too as we move forward in 2026. So it capped 2025 as the weakest year for employment growth, and only second to the 2003 recession. So of course, some things to think about as we're moving forward. Any questions on the investment update?
Good job. Yep, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think, does that take us on to the, 26-27 insurance renewal?
Yes.
Okay.
Page 6 of your packet, I've included a memo to the Finance Committee. This is regarding our property and casualty insurance renewal. Every year we get a renewal rate, and it starts in March of 26 and will go through February of 27. This year, if you look down towards the bottom of the page, I have some historical premium costs highlighted, and the yellow is what we're looking at right now, an annual premium of $75,000. This has gone up over $10,000 since last year and about $10,000 the year prior to that. So as you can see, we're seeing some significant increases in our premiums. Just above that, the bullet points, I have listed some of the reasonings behind these increases. As you can see, we did add some valuable assets there. Not a whole lot of value adding though, so I'm a little bit concerned that the annual premium has increased so much. So I do think it might be time to start looking at other providers. So I may start to shop that out for the 27-28 year. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up. That's what I'll be looking into as we start next year. And also have a cybersecurity piece under there. That's separate from our property and casualty insurance, but we do have to have the cybersecurity insurance as well. And as you can see, those are kind of fluctuating a little bit, decreasing in 25 and then increasing again in 26.
Is that something we would normally do an RFP for, or is that more?
That's a good question. And since the threshold is $75,000 for, thank you. We may be looking at that, although I know there are stipulations around the types of products and things that we're looking at. So I'll have to get some more information to determine whether or not we need to do competitive bidding. But as it sits right now, I'm expected to sign this and move forward with this contract for the 26-27 year, unless council has any issues with that.
Hey, I don't think, any
I
questions?
was just gonna say, I think the insurance rate is less due to us and our claims and things like that. I mean, if anything, we've had very minor claims. I still see this as, I mean, you probably see it in your own personal rates, I would imagine, at least over the past 2 years, you know, car insurance and home insurance. I feel like the insurance industry in general is still playing catch up from like post-pandemic, and a lot of the insurance risk and liability is interwoven, not just like across like the public sector, but across like the broad landscape of the United States. And like with all the natural disasters and things like that, I'm just saying like the industry as a whole is trying to catch up or build up kind of their war chest, you know, for like reserves in case other major issues occur. So, and all I'm trying to say is when we go out to bid, I wouldn't expect us to be like going back in time 2 years. I doubt it's going to be $50,000 a year. It's probably going to be pretty close, but probably worthwhile.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the community fund, and this might be hand off to Daryl, I'm guessing.
It is.
All right.
It is. So thank you. Just wanted to introduce to the Finance Committee a discussion about establishing a community fund for the city of Sunbury. So when I arrived in the city about 4 years ago, I think this had been a topic that had been discussed on some level, but never really pursued in any great length. It came back up again in a conversation about the America 250 celebration. We're working with Berkshire and Galena. And somebody had indicated, well, what happens if we were to receive some donations associated with that? And because we've got multiple jurisdictions, somebody thought, well, maybe the easiest way to do that would be to establish a community or a fund with the Delaware County Foundation. So I reached out to the foundation to talk to them a little bit more about a community fund. And that really got me, I think, thinking about this as, you know, really a good strategy for the city and probably something that needs to be pursued. And I think that's something I'd like to do. And I just, again, want to introduce this idea to you this evening. So as a reminder, we had talked about last year creating a donation policy of some sort, and particularly with J.R. Smith Park about ready to begin renovate or improvements. We had indicated a kind of a variety of different levels on which people could make contributions, and some of them could be pretty sizable contributions in exchange for maybe a little bit of a naming right and what have you. But so the idea of creating a community fund actually could come into play if we were to receive donations through that process. I mean, there is a way to receive donations at the city. We've done that in the past. Our police department has received donations. So it's not like we can't do it under the current model. But when I spoke to the Delaware County Foundation, they had indicated to me that the city of Delaware had established a a community fund. And that was the fund in which they received donations to support their 4th of July celebration. So there is precedent for communities in Delaware County to establish such a fund. So that might be another purpose in which we could create the fund. And we could create a single fund. We can define what the fund is about. Their recommendation is that it should be pretty broad. And you can also create subcategories within the fund as well. So it's not like it's a single purpose fund. It could cover a whole variety of things. The final sort of point I would make about a potential sort of category of donations might be regarding the Fallen Heroes Memorial. I mean, that's not a city asset. That is a state asset, but it's in our community. And I know there has been a little bit of question about long-term, how is that maintained into perpetuity? And certainly the idea of creating a fund now that has some maintenance monies associated with it to help support that memorial, would not shift the burden to the city, but would actually, really, we would benefit from a large number of people who see that as a worthy cause to make donations for whatever purpose they might make. So for whatever reason, they might want to make those donations. So the Delaware County Foundation is managing currently about $25 million in assets. So, I mean, if you haven't heard of the foundation, they've been around for some period of time now. They have a variety of different funds, but a lot of what they do is they hand out grants. So they receive donations from a variety of donors who have really kind of an open use for the funds. And then ultimately the foundation and the board will make some determinations about awarding grants. Having said that, ours wouldn't operate quite like that. Ours would probably be more like a designated fund. And that's in the packet, they've given us an example of what an agreement might look like. A designated fund basically means that the donor donates it for a designated purpose. In this particular case, the designated purpose could be as broad as the city of Sunbury and its community benefits. So there still is a little bit of work to do in terms of defining the purpose of the fund and certainly understanding what the costs associated with that might be. But there would be a charge to the city to establish such a fund, but it's based on the assets that are in the fund at any given time. And, and they would be drawn from that source as well. So
who manages the fund then? Who are we paying the fees to? Is that?
So we would pay the fee to the foundation to manage the fund from an administrative perspective.
Okay.
When we're ready to use the funds, we reach out. There's a process for doing that. You reach out, they make a distribution to the city, and at that point, it would appear then on the city's books. So that that's the point at which the city has to document it as part of its accounting process. And again, all of that is still needs to be determined. I still need to understand that a little bit more, but yeah, again, I think mostly just want to kind of introduce the idea and the reasons why I think a community fund may be worth exploring for the city. I'm certainly open to hearing your thoughts about, if you think there are other kind of broad uses that we should be thinking about, that I can work through the executive director of the foundation, just talk to him a little bit more about how that might work so that I can come back to you with a more full proposal at a later point. So thoughts, comments?
I think it's a great idea. For clarity's sake, what's the advantage of going through the foundation for these type of charitable versus if it just put it in the general fund in a category and say this is for miscellaneous?
Yeah, that's a great question. I should have mentioned that. There's a benefit to the donor. If a donor makes a contribution through the foundation, it has tax benefits associated with that. A donation to us would not yield the same benefit to them.
One other example where you probably have heard about it is the Big Walnut. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the academic.
Yeah, the
awards.
education.
Basically, like the Education Foundation is actually like housed within the
great
County Foundation.
Another great example. Yep.
So I think it's a good idea.
I mean, they've got like all the processes set up and the mechanics and bank account balances and things like that. I just think of them as like the overarching umbrella that protects the funds and manages them. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, $240 a year is nothing.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring in like millions of dollars.
Right.
Ideally, we could point, philanthropists or even businesses and folks like that to be able to, instead of whatever, I don't know, contributing directly to this, how about put it into a bigger pot where it can be used for greater good?
Does that money get invested? Is it set like in a safe savings account? How does that?
Yeah, I don't know all of how they do it,
Yeah.
but they are investing the funds on their side, yes.
And then clarity on did you say the donors, they can ask how the funds that they're donating are used?
They can designate the funds, and I think I need to understand a little bit more about how deeply that designation goes. The way that it's, I mean, sort of at a high level, the way that it's quote designated, it's designated to the city of Sunbury. Now, somebody could say it's designated to the city of Sunbury for the fallen heroes, maintenance and perpetuity. So it could be as specific as that, but that's why we still have to work through the purpose of the fund. And the process that we would use for saying, okay, that's an authorized expenditure, and we want to, go get the money, come back and use it for a particular purpose. So yeah, there's still definitely some work to do. Like I said, this is mostly just the introduction to the fund. And if you've, again, got thoughts on it or questions, or you've looked at the foundation or whatever, I mean, just share those with me and I'll try to do more research on that.
Sounds like it's a good way too, to just protect, rather than just in this Sunbury General Fund, to protect those funds and those donations for that particular purpose versus,
Yeah.
and I think that's a lot, I think as the mayor was alluding to, that's a lot of management on the city side. If there's different
Right.
funds and different designations and who,
Yeah.
keeping track of all that would be
Yeah.
a challenge, I think, so.
It would. I did talk to Dave Breen just a little bit about it. Dave had served on the board in years past, so thinks highly of the foundation and the way that it operates. I mean, he's not on the board any longer, but he'll be able to help us kind of navigate it as well.
Cool.
Okay. Well, we'll
Yeah.
keep going.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks.
Okay, year-to-date comparison reports. And Ms. Dunn, before you move forward, a question was asked to me, and I think you do a much better job explaining it than I would, but could you explain the net profit portion of the year-to-date on the what the net profit actually entails, the 46,085?
Yes. So that net profit row right there represents business net profit income tax. So any business that's established in the city and has business income to pay to the city, that's reflected in that balance. As opposed to the other income taxes that we collect, individual income taxes, which is where individuals pay directly to RITA, or withholding taxes, where the employer withholds the taxes for their employees in Sunbury and then remits it to RITA. Does that help clarify?
Yes.
Yep, all good, thank you.
And then going to page 9 of our packet, this is where we have our revenue report for January. So I'll go through this, and as you can imagine, with only 1 month under our belt in 2026 thus far, we don't have a lot to talk about, but I'll go through the highlighted items. So on page 10, this is all general fund here on page 10, completely general fund. At the very top, the real estate property tax, we've budgeted $544,000. This has been reduced by 1/3 of what we would typically expect to collect. And that's, of course, as you know, in our efforts to wean ourselves away from the property taxes. Down at the bottom of the general fund, we have a transfer in of $41,183. This is the residual balance in the water utility fund. And as you know, we no longer have a water utility, so we're just transferring that balance from that fund back to the general fund. And now those monies are allowed to be used for any general purpose of the city. On page 11, we're getting out of the general fund and looking at the special revenue funds. Not much to mention here, except down about 5/6 of the way down the page. Impact fees for roads. We've collected $154,000, and that's all from D.R. Horton for the Kittner Crossing patio phase 1. Page 12, we have a couple one transfer to mention. In Fund 213, this is our new special revenue fund for wages. I've transferred in $109,000 from the general fund and from the sewer fund. And again, these monies are going to be collected to pay wages, benefits, anything above and beyond the normal wages and benefits that we have to pay. For example, an extra week of payroll or if an employee is retiring, this would account for their vacation payout, things of that nature. In Fund 301, that's the cemetery fund, we had some activity there. And we have collected $7,000 in sale of plots. We sold 13 plots so far this year. We had one burial and we sold one foundation. So those are the small revenues that we've collected so far. And on page 13, to finish up the revenue report, just two more transfers to mention. In Fund 601, that's our bond retirement fund. We needed an extra $10,000 in there to cover up the small piece of bond that we still have left to pay from that. So that'll go away very soon. And in Fund 701, we had transfers in of 1.3 million, all from the general fund to help fund capital projects.
Question on the impact fees. Is there a reason that we only collected for the roads and not for parks, municipal, or police?
That is all they've paid so far, and have to follow up with our engineering department and see when we can expect to get those other funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions on revenues? I'll move on to expenses. Page 14 starts the expenses, and I'm going to go through all the yellow items here. Some of these are going to be repeated comments because they're similar. Starting on page 14 at the top, we have general fund, police. Wages in police and benefits are both higher than expected. Spending is outpacing budget due to the fact that there were 3 payrolls in January. Typically, well, every year there are 10 months where there are 2 payrolls and 2 months where there are 3 payrolls. Just so happens that first out of the gate in the year, we have a 3 payroll month. So therefore our spending is going to appear to be a little higher than it really should. As far as the benefits go, same comment applies, but we also had HSA funding for employees, HSA accounts, and workers' comp premiums were paid in January as well. Cruiser repair. There was an accident with cruiser number 98 back in December, and we had to pay about $8,000 to Elite Body Works to get that fixed. It is an insurance claim, so we do expect full reimbursement on that. Halfway down the page, we have benefits zoning in yellow, and that is, again, due to the HSA funding and workers' comp premiums being paid in January. In supplies for zoning, we have a higher spending, and it's just a small amount, so it's triggering the yellow. It's just a reimbursement for Alex's testing and his licensing. Benefits admin, same comment as before for the HSA spending and the workers' comp. Down in supplies admin, we've spent a little bit of money here so far. Social media archiving is a 1-year expense, or a 12-month expense paid in January. So we're seeing that big hit right now. And we also had some a Christmas decor that didn't get pushed through in the financials until January. And we also are paying for the vision statement placards in this account. In the legislative, we have same comment there for the wages, 3 payrolls versus 2. And down in travel, transportation, and training, the new council member trainings for our 2 new council members is listed there, which hopefully that was a fruitful training.
It is this weekend.
Oh, I thought it was.
No. It's a Saturday.
Oh, right.
21st.
Oh, no.
I was getting my dates mixed up.
The OML new council?
Yes.
New
Yes.
council,
Yes, I think it was a good one.
in Lewis Center.
Okay, moving on to page 15. We're in the mayor's court department, still in the general fund. We had some high expenses in the contractual services for mayor's court, primarily due to the magistrate services for Q4 of 25 being spent this year. And a small expense in the supplies to repair the stamp for the time recorder. In the fiscal department, same 2 comments as we've had before for the payroll and the benefits. And down in contractual services, we have a payment for the ClearGov annual payment, and that's what's hitting in January. Moving down to the next yellow in contractual services, land and buildings, we've spent 11,000, and primarily due to some tree and pruning work and paying our arborist, and also $4,400 in utilities. Moving along down to the benefits in the street, same comment for benefits, HSA funding and workers' comp premiums. And down in repairs and maintenance, we had some high spending there. The Western Star truck had about $8,600 worth of repairs that needed to be done. And Jake's team had purchased a high capacity air compressor for $3,800.
Truck, like, cash value is like $150,000, so, I mean, this is like,
Good.
like.
That's.
This is, yeah, this is brake service.
Yeah. I think it was more serious than that. I mean, it's something. There's some suspension.
Yeah, something in the suspension.
Yeah.
They had to reinforce the, a portion of the suspension, which I think had, with some salt damage in the past, had kind of weakened the suspension.
We want to look at one of those. I'm sure they spray it, but
Yeah,
they have like automatic sprayers that you can drive over.
Mhm.
May want to look at investing in this.
Me being new, what is the Western Star?
It's like our biggest snowplow trucks. Yeah, good question. I had another question. On ClearGov, did we get that implemented?
Yeah, well, we're working on it. I'm still working on it. It's been a process, trying to find time to get that in. So yes.
Okay. And then this is off topic. Normally wouldn't be the avenue that I asked this question, but I just noticed it. Is Hardwick or whoever damaged the bench out here, gonna replace that? Did they notify us about that?
They may have notified Jake. I hadn't heard that, but yeah,
I did have a resident say,
Okay.
"Oh, I just watched a tree branch fall and it like actually busted off the whole top part of the bench."
Oh, okay.
I forgot to mention that when you said pruning expense. Just want to make sure. That
yeah, we've done, I think, similar kind of repair on a couple of other benches, so they can be repaired. Yeah, I'll check in with
It looked
Jake
like
just to make sure.
it was kind of just hit the top
Yeah.
block thing, broke off.
Yep.
Thank you.
That concludes the general fund expenses. We'll move along on to the non-general fund, page 16. Just a few things to mention here on this page. From the street fund, we've paid debt service. This is one of 2 annual loan payments on the OPWC loans. We have 2 OPWC loans currently right now, and combined it's only about $10,000 a year in payments. In the state highway fund, we've paid almost all of that, and this was due to engineering fees for the Safe Streets for All roadway safety action plan. We did receive the full 120,000 grant, so that's all settled and done. These expenses that came in after the fact were just from November and December Verdantis invoices that just didn't get paid until January of this year. So it's just a timing thing. Then in the impact fees for police, we've spent $20,457. And these were for items that were budgeted in 2025, but carried forward into this year. So they purchased some shields and entry tools and also some in-car cameras. Page 17, we have some more yellow down in the sewer fund, Fund 402. The wages and benefits, same comments as before, so I won't bore you with those. Supplies for sewer billing, that's we've spent $3,641 so far, which is triggering the yellow. Those are all payments to SmartBill, who processes our billing monthly, and also Invoice Cloud, which is an online payment processing software that we use. The SmartBill invoices were higher in January due to them having to restock some of the products that they typically do. So sometimes we get an extra bill for paper and extra postage, things of that nature. I don't expect us to have to increase that budget, but I will watch that throughout the year. Moving along, more wages, same comment. In supplies for sewer plant, we've spent $13,808, primarily due to spending on gasoline and propane. Also some Ohio EPA payments are in that line as well, and some Tremco roof repairs for the wastewater treatment plant. Chemicals, we've spent $8,000 so far. That's all for one order of liquid polymer. And as you know, the chemicals for the wastewater treatment plant are expensive. So anytime there's a purchase done, it's usually a large chunk of change, which is necessary. Down in the contractual services for the sewer plant, we've spent $21,000 so far, all on electricity for AEP and also water from Delco. Next, we have the notes and the interest for the sewer debt. So we've paid our OWDA semi-annual loan payments in January, and we'll pay the second semi-annual payments for those in July. Further down towards the bottom of the report in Fund 701, we've spent $766,508 so far on capital outlay for streets, and that's all related to the 2025 street improvement program and Columbus Street parking lot. And that brings us to the end of the expense reports. Happy to answer any questions.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we have the bank to book reconciliation check register. If there's anything to highlight there.
Going down back to page 1 of the agenda, we have the bank to book reconciliation at the bottom there. You can see all of our bank balances as of January 31st, totaling $21,872,701.59. We've got a large amount of outstanding checks. I don't think I listed those here, but they've all been identified. Trying to think what would bring them so high. I'm pretty sure that Decker one or the Ryder Company and the Decker ones are outstanding. Sorry, I didn't look at that at the outstanding list, but we do have the complete check report on page 19 through page 23 or 24. All variances have been identified and can be provided upon request. If anyone would like to see those, I'm happy to provide. As far as income tax categories for the year, we're about 7 or 8% collected, right on track with where we are in the year. So everything is so far on cue to this January. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's all I have to report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any other questions for Ms. Steffen? Okay, Dale, did you have anything else before we?
I do not.
Okay, if there's no other questions, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Mayor, second by Ms. Cooper. Discussion, roll call, please.
Mayor St. John.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Grumney.
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
5 yeas.